I'm going to show you how to make a really easy cauliflower pizza crust. So I have 2 cups of already riced cauliflower. So you can get these things called cauliflower pearls. That's what I used, and it's already broken up. Or you can take a head of cauliflower and you can put it in your food processor, just the florets. This is way faster, obviously, so I went ahead and already got the riced or the pearled cauliflower. I also steamed it for just a few minutes. You don't want it mushy, but you don't want it to still be hard. So it needs to be just a little bit tender. So I've already steamed my 2 cups. So they were fresh, 2 cups. So now obviously the measurement's going to be a little bit different. So what I'm going to do is drain this. With cauliflower, when you're using it for a pizza crust, you want to get out as much liquid as you possibly can. If you think about traditional pizza dough, it's not wet. It's not very wet at all. It's pretty dry. So I'm putting it in a little hand towel here, and I'm going to wring it. This is a little messy. You're going to get your hands all full of cauliflower liquid, but that's okay. We want to just wring it, wring it, wring it. And then I'm going to set that down, and I'm going to do the rest of it with this one. Actually, I just changed my mind. What I'm going to do, because this little towel is a little bit thin, I think I'm going to set this on a kitchen towel, and I wasn't sure about that. That's why I wanted to test that right there. So I'm going to bring this over here and wring it just a little bit more in a kitchen towel. The good thing about a kitchen towel too is it does absorb some of the water, so you're not doing quite as much work, but you do want to get out as much as you can. So I'm going to take that cauliflower and put it in the bowl that I'm going to mix into everything else. And then I'll do the same thing with the rest of the cauliflower. So this is the part I think that intimidates people when they read cauliflower pizza crust recipes and they're like, I'm not doing that. That's too much work. It's really not that much work, especially if you do it in small batches. I'm going to do this, probably just do that, and I'll do one more batch. So I'm just going to go over a couple times, and then I'm going to wring. I'm going to do this over the sink. So I got most of the water out in that first batch with that little hand towel, but it ripped a little bit. And so that's why I want to use something that's a little more absorbent and definitely won't rip on me, because I don't want to lose any of my cauliflower. Okay. Let me see how that is. That's pretty good. That's pretty good. I'm going to go one more time though, because if you go to wring and there's still water in it, you didn't get enough out. See, I'm still getting water out. So like I said, I think this is the part that's a little intimidating to people, but it doesn't need to be. A little bit of muscle, a little bit of squeezing, a little extra work there, but it's worth it because it's homemade and it's going to be delicious. And it really is easy. See, that didn't take very long at all. So I'm going to go ahead and take those cauliflower pieces and put them in my bowl. And then I do like one extra step after that, which is to take a dry part of my towel and just kind of press it one more time into the bowl, just to make sure I have the last little bit of moisture out. Okay. So by the way, when you're done, when you have this mush, it's going to be roughly a cup. So this is definitely more of a personal pizza. So I'm just tapping it down just to make sure I have out any excess moisture. I don't want any liquid in there at all, because we want this to stick together. We want you to be able to pick it up. You can eat it with a fork, but you shouldn't have to. Okay, if you do it right, you should be able to pick it up. There we go. So I'm done with that. Now I'm going to go ahead and start adding, oh, you know what? I'm not. I forgot I had one more. Let's go ahead and add this. Just a little bit more here. Although that does look pretty close to a cup, or it did before I mushed it. Give that a good wring. Get as much out. I'll fold it over again and wring it again. So if you're making a huge pizza or if you're making a lot, just know that this is something that once you get them all made up, you can freeze. I'd put it between 2 pieces of parchment paper, just the pizza crust without any of the toppings, between 2 pieces of parchment paper, and then it heats up really, really easy. Okay, there we go. There's the rest. Glad I saw that. Go ahead and put that in here. See, it's just, there's hardly anything left. Cauliflower, there's just, once you steam it, there's so much liquid in there. So it looks like you're going to make a whole bunch, and then you wring it out and you're thinking, is this going to feed anybody? But it does. So when we spread it out, by the way, and I'll mention this again in just a minute, I just want to make sure I don't forget to say it. When you do put everything together and you spread it out on your pan, you don't want it too thin, because then it will tear. And we don't want this to tear. We want it to be firm. Firm enough for us to pick up. That's the goal. Worst case scenario, if something does go wrong, there's my oven ready. Something does go wrong and it does start to fall apart, it's still going to taste really good, so don't panic. Okay, so let's go ahead and start adding all of our amazing things that we're going to put on the inside that's going to make this taste incredible. So I have 1 minced up garlic clove. I love garlic, so I like the fresh garlic in there. I also have 1 teaspoon of onion powder, a teaspoon of garlic powder, so there's a little bit more. I have half a teaspoon of salt. Actually, this is 1 teaspoon of salt. 1 teaspoon of Italian herbs. 3 tablespoons of coconut flour. Now, when you cook with coconut flour, if you've never cooked with it before, coconut flour is never going to be a 1-to-1 ratio in anything. That's just a little aside for you. So if you were going to make coconut bread and you were taking a regular bread recipe and you were going to convert it, coconut flour is a very, very thirsty flour and it needs lots of liquid when you're making something like a bread. We don't want lots of liquid in this because we want it to be a little on the drier side like a regular dough, so not super liquidy. So this is 3 tablespoons of coconut flour. The other thing to note about coconut flour is when you're measuring it, you don't want to pack it down. You want to scoop it out and just shake it a little bit and then level it off. If you pack it, you're going to get a completely different consistency in anything you're cooking. So there's a tip for you there. And lastly, I'm going to add 2 eggs. Now I'm just going to mix all of that together to form my dough. I can smell the garlic. I love garlic. If you don't want that much garlic in there, you can either eliminate the minced garlic or you can eliminate the powdered garlic. I love garlic. So I'm always adding just a little bit more. Plus we're making pizza and it just goes well together, you know? Okay, so let me get, oh, you know what? One more thing. I have 2 tablespoons of oil. Forgot about my oil. And this is avocado oil, by the way. Okay. I'm going to put that over here. Get that out of the way. And I'm going to go ahead and form my crust and put it on my pan. So you could do 2. I think that's actually what I'm going to do. I think I'm going to do 2 smaller ones. So just going to make my dough, put it on here, and spread it out. Just going to do it with my hands. So 2 smaller pizza crusts I think is going to be perfect for this pan. Try and get it even. And this is going to be, you want your temperature on your oven a little bit hotter for this. 400 is what I have mine set to. I'm going to cook it anywhere 25 to 35 minutes even. Obviously, you want it a golden brown. What I'm going to top it with, I don't have any cheese for this, so I'm not melting anything. But if you were going to be adding some cheese or something you were going to melt, just keep in mind you'll need to stick it back in the oven, and so it's going to cook just a little bit more. So you always want to keep that in mind when you're taking it out the first time, knowing that if you're adding something that needs to be melted or where you're going to stick it in one more time, maybe to warm everything up, it's going to cook it just a hair more. Okay, so that's about a good thickness. Because remember, we want to be able to pick it up. We don't want it to tear when we lift it. And so we want to leave it, it's not really thick, but it's not super thin either. So if you love a really, really thin crust, you don't want to go too thin with your cauliflower pizza. Push those edges in to make sure that it's thick enough to grab. Okay, and that's pretty even. I'm happy with that, so I'm going to go ahead and stick it in the oven. Like I said, 400 degrees, about 25 to 35 minutes. Just watch it. You want it lightly golden brown, and then you want it to cool, and then you can add your toppings. When I come back, that's what we'll do. My cauliflower pizza crust came out so perfect, if I do say so myself. So I'm telling you, squeezing out all that moisture really is key. And you can see I'm picking this up. It is not crumbling in my hands. It's absolutely perfect. You could dress it up on this side. You could turn it over because it's really flat and dress it up on this side if you want to. I'm going to go ahead and do this side. You can do anything you want with this pizza, of course. I'm going to go ahead and make mine a veggie pizza, and I'll show you how I'm going to do that. By the way, here's the other one, also beautiful and gorgeous. So I've got a pesto sauce that I'm actually going to put as the base instead of a tomato sauce. That's just what I want to do with this veggie pizza. This pesto is on another video, so make sure you go check that out because this is a delicious, delicious pesto sauce. So I'm going to go ahead and scoop this on here pretty generously and just push that around. So pretty. Oh my goodness. And it smells so, so, so good. I want to get that all the way out to the edges there. Okay. And now, like I said, this one's going to be a veggie pizza for me today. That's just what sounds good. So I went ahead and sauteed some broccoli, some bell peppers, and some onions. So I'm just going to start throwing it on there. I really have no rhyme or reason to this. I'm just going to go ahead and put some on there. You can take your time and make it really beautiful. And bell peppers are, if you like them, and if you can tolerate them, then they do make your dishes so pretty. They just give it that pop of color. Make it taste very flavorful as well. I'm going to do one more onion there and one more there. And then I've got some little cherry tomato halves. I love tomatoes, so I'm just going to put those around as well. And so I've got myself a little veggie pizza. Now, if your pizza crust is still warm and you're just doing something that you're not really melting anything, of course, I've already cooked my veggies, you can slice it up and it's ready to go. If your pizza crust has already gotten cool and you just want to heat everything together, put it back in the oven for about 5 more minutes. I would probably reduce the heat to about 350. Remember, we cooked it at 400 to go ahead and get it cooked through. But right now, this is perfect, and I can slice it and eat it. And believe me, I will be as soon as we're done with this video. So there you go. Cauliflower pizza crust. Don't be intimidated. The squeezing process, it just takes a few extra minutes, but it's so worth it. And you can freeze these. So you would put a piece of parchment paper on bottom and on top, and you would just layer these on there. Put them in a storage container and put it in your freezer, and then they're ready to go whenever you want to make some pizza, and you can do a whole bunch at once. So I hope you enjoy this. It's easy, it's yummy, and I think it's going to be one of your new favorites. Enjoy.